to this week's Talking Codswallop. I am Gemma.
And I'm Andy.
You are Andy. Welcome back. And we have no James this week. James is still doing his top secret project, so that's really going well for him and awesome. But we have got two wonderful guests this week who Andy did the reaching out to, so I'm going to hand over to Andy to do a little introduction, so make it a good one, Andy.
All right, yeah, no pressure.
No pressure.
Cheers.
Yeah.
All right, so thank you. So we've invited two people who I must say, when their podcast drops, they're one of the few that I'll say for my little trots around the blocks. These two are very funny, and I tell you what, if we were into running ourselves in this podcast, all three of us, I think we would give them a run for the money in just terms of the grumpiness stakes. So we've got here today, we've got Amy and Stu from the Running is BS or Running is Bullshit podcast. So welcome.
Hello.
Thank you. Hello.
Yes, welcome. So we've had a little catch up outside of podcast world, but recording world, shall I say? But so we've all been to work today. And we all hate our jobs, basically. So not really anyone at work that's listening. So how are you both doing?
I'm doing pretty well. I'm just getting over COVID. So I spent 2 years or 3 years, whatever, on since the beginning of the pandemic not having COVID, and then I did get it. And because I think I was vaccinated like over 18 months ago, I just have no immunity, and it hit me like a ton of bricks, and I felt awful. So that's me. So I'm having to like mute myself every time I cough. So it's just like in and out, muting myself. So but I'm okay. I'm on the mend.
That's the main thing, isn't it? That's the main thing.
I'm still pure, never had COVID, as far as I know. So I'm absolutely fine. I'm just slightly angry that Amy's muting herself to cough when I usually have to edit out dozens of coughs in all the episodes that we've done.
Coughs, chair creaking. You'll probably hear my creaky chair, creaking.
Oh, there you go.
We've had washing machines, dogs, all kinds of things.
Yeah, I just. The funny thing is, I don't have dogs. I just play a soundbite of barking in the background just for Stewart, and then a baby crying, and then a fire alarm going off, and yeah.
Ways to mess with the editor. Yeah, I know.
Oh yeah, something we like to do with Gemma, put her through the ringer. I've also got a creaky chair as well, so you probably hear that a couple of times in today's recording.
Yeah, our last recording as well, Andy left his window open, so he was talking about cars and stuff like that, which really doesn't interest me, so I was a little bit bored, and all I could hear in the background was this lovely little bird tweeting away, and I was like, oh, listen to that instead of what he's talking about.
And you've just reminded me, because I've now just shut the window again.
Okay, that's all right. I mean, you just send the cats out, won't you? But now I've also got a dog as well who makes regular appearances on the podcast, so yeah, there's nothing polished about this podcast. Sorry, brain fog coming
well
into
demonstrated.
Play. Exactly. I mean, we're talking Codswallop for a reason. Do you know what I mean? Oh, do you know what I mean, guys? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of Codswallop, I mean, it's you guys have a very similar attitude on your show, and when it comes to running, and you have a frequent segment, running is BS, what's been BS about this week. So we like to open up the show and get these things off of our chest. So
yeah,
we call it, Codswallop. So have you guys got any Codswallop from the last 7 days, be that work, home, running?
all of the above.
Well, a slightly more general on the last 7 days. It's something that I'm glad we just avoided. It happens a lot on podcasts, and it's just a small talk thing that all people do anyway, except me, because I hate it. When people see each other, they go, "Hi there, you're right. Yeah, good, thanks. You? Yeah, good, thanks." And that's the whole conversation. And I hate it because it's stupid, because they don't mean it. It's just, yeah, good, thanks. Yeah, good, thanks. And people do it on podcasts all the time as well. When they introduce their guest, "Oh, wait, introduce this guest. How are you? Good, thanks. You? Yeah, good, thanks. And it's just such a pointless conversation. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't get you anywhere. No one has learned anything about the other. It's just a weird, polite thing that people do. And even on work calls, I will intentionally not ask back. People always there come in, hi there, how are you? My answer is always, good, thanks. And I just leave it there. And you can tell sometimes people even say, yeah, good, thanks. Because they reply to themselves, even though I haven't asked the question. Just because they expect me to ask the question, they answer it anyway. And so I'm glad we all avoided that very well.
Well,
I'm coming in hot today.
I also do think that I said, hi guys, how are you? So I think actually I've got quite thick skin at this point.
Stewart just doesn't do pleasantries and politeness and social interactions.
It's not my thing.
No, it's all good. I think it's
You would hate my emails then, Stu, because every single one is always, hi, hope this finds you well.
Oh, I do that. I hope this email... You know what? I started doing that during the pandemic. Like, I hope this finds you well. I hope you're all okay and safe. And now I've just kept it.
The email isn't go around knocking on doors looking for you. It knows where to go. The email knows how to find you.
Yeah, exactly.
But it finds you well. The person needs to be well when they receive the email, you know?
It doesn't matter. I always have to go back on my emails and check they're not too blunt, because I'm always very to the point. And I'm thinking, that's a bit too blunt. I can imagine. Yeah, people are going to think that's rude, but I'm not. I'm succinct, is what I like to think. But I do have to go back and check myself. Yeah, weird that. I wonder why.
Or think you're Dutch.
Yeah, it's a bit like, if you were to start a email saying, hi, such and such, or dear such and such, I'm writing this email to tell you. It's like, ovs.
Yeah, I know.
Obviously, I'm writing this email because otherwise you wouldn't have it. But no, I'm pretty laid back when it comes to with most of the customers because I'm an order processor. So for most of the customers that I actually deal with, they're actually quite friendly. So, like we got a bit of banter going back and forth sort of thing. There are the ones that I do have to be more professional with, but yeah, I do have a bit of a giggle with most of my customers, so which is good. But there we have it.
That's why I don't work with customers.
Yeah. I mean, there is the question mark sometimes of this job would be good without them. But I guess
just emailing yourself like back and forth. Like.
Yeah. I'd have an amazing conversation.
It's the only way I can have an intelligent one.
Yeah. Well, I can't agree with the intelligent part from my aspect, but yeah. So, Amy, have you got any Codswallop?
So, as usual, I always talk about this on the podcast, and Stuart always says, you've said this last week, but I will say it again. So my usual Codswallop for the week is running with my dog, which I enjoy doing, but I don't enjoy it when she's trying to be a dog and do dog things like sniff and just meander along. And I'm like, come on, let's keep going. Yeah. Because she's a hound, so all she wants to do is sniff and see where other dogs have peed and then have a little pee herself. And, and then she has a poo and I have to pick it up and then I have to run with a bag of shit. And it's just like it all becomes very complicated. So, yeah, I love running with my dog, but at the same time, she's a pain in the arse. And I get really frustrated. I'm like, come on. And then people are looking at me like I'm forcing my dog to run with me and she hates it, and I'm like, come on, let's keep going, and they're like, oh, that poor dog being forced to run and all this. So yeah, that's usually my Codswallop for most weeks. Actually, my dog loves running. She gets really excited about it, absolutely loves it, and it tires her out. But she can be a bit of a pain when she wants to be a normal dog and sniff things and stuff.
Well, yeah, no, that's fair enough. Actually, I may as well say my Codswallop as well, because my Codswallop was going to be, because obviously I've said earlier, I'm really struggling with the long COVID today, which is why my brain keeps freezing. So yeah, we'll get there in a sec. But yeah, I take my dog out for walks. I'm not a runner myself, so I don't know what I have any business being on this episode at all, but there you go, my mouth's running quite fast. But so when I take him out for walks and things, and it's it's sort of the thing where you've got to then carry the dog poo around with you, and they always have a poo at the very beginning, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I've got to carry it to the nearest bin. And the thing is, as well, I've got a female dog, so I had an incident a few weeks ago where she squatted for a wee, and some guy like whistled at me, shouted at me, and then was like, "You're gonna pick that up," like that at me. Like, she's a female dog. I know you're obviously not that familiar with the female anatomy, but they squat to wee, Like,
Yeah.
But I'm always like very self-conscious about that now. When she squats to wee, I'm like, she's having a wee. I'm not leaving poo anywhere.
No, I mean, yeah, I hate it when people have stick up her ass, so, stuck it up his ass sort of thing. Yeah, but no, it is also annoying how there's sort of typical areas that you can sort of take a dog for a walk or whatever, and there never seems to be many bins around. So it's like you do feel like forever you're carrying that bag of dog poo,
And then you're carrying it for so long, you're used to it, so you walk straight past a bin, or in my case, like run straight past a bin. And then I realise, I'm like, why am I still carrying this poo? It's like become part of my person now that I must carry around. So I'm like just going past the bins with it, and eventually just take it home. I'm like, okay, this is mine now. I'll keep it.
You somehow managed to adjust your running stride to incorporate the balance.
Oh God, yeah, exactly. And then I totally forget about it then. Yeah.
What about you, Andy? You've always got something to moan about.
Actually, yeah, I'm starting to realise that Amy and I are very similar. We make lots of noise to piss off our editors.
Yes, I hadn't noticed.
Yeah, and there seems to be, and there is a general theme to our Codswallop. And this, I feel quite awkward now. This one, so. This one is dogs and me running again. So, I'm not a dog owner, and my previous Codswallop were dog owners who don't retract their extendable leads.
Oh
when their
God,
dogs,
yes.
Yeah. But this week is dogs not on a lead and not being called back to heel.
Yeah.
So I've got some really nice woods. They're actually classed as an area of outstanding natural beauty, so you do get a lot of footfall.
Yeah.
But I was stomping through the woods on my run, and I could hear this snuffling behind me. And I looked behind me, and there's this. I assume it was a puppy or like a juvenile boxer, and it was quite foaming at the mouth because I think it was quite excited because it'd been running around loose on the. And he kind of looked at me and ran away, and I thought, okay, nothing of it. And then I kept running, and then all of a sudden I could feel this presence on the back of my legs. And I looked around. Yep, no, this little boxer. I say little. It was more like a pony. Was trotting along behind me, and all I could think of, it's going for my hamstrings. It's going for my hamstrings. So I ended up just stopping and then just calling out in the most English way possible. Could someone please call back this dog, this boxer dog? Please call it back. And then I hear this whistle from, it must have been like 3 acres away. I hear this whistle, and then off it trots. And I'm just like, for the love of God, if you can't see your dog, could you at least call it back to heel?
Yeah.
That's all I ask, because I know dogs will go off and be dogs and want to go and explore and chase squirrels, but please, if you can't see it, call it back.
Well, yeah, that's exactly it. You have to keep them in your eyesight line, kind of thing. There's I saw an advert the other day which was like, it's called Where's My Dog or something like that. It's like this little chip and phone app type thing. And it's say, oh, don't worry, Bruce is over here, kind of thing. Well, actually, you should know where Bruce is.
Yeah,
you only really need that when Bruce actually bolts.
Yeah, I mean, Socks bolts from time to... that's my dog's name, but he bolts from time to time. But, he's still... Like, I'll shout his name and he'll come running back,
I've lost. I lost Pippin once, who's my dog. She's a Beagle Harrier, so they're bred for hunting. They're bred for hunting like rabbit and fox. And she saw a deer. I was actually out on a run with a friend, and she was off the lead. And normally I run with her on the lead, but we're doing quite a technical trail run, and it was very quiet, so I let her off the lead with my friend's dog, and a deer came out on the path and was right in front of us, and Pippin saw it, started running after it, and then came back to me, and I was about to clip her back on, and I made the stupid mistake of going to her, did you see a deer? Like that.
Yeah.
She just looked at me, and she went, and she was gone for 5 hours. We lost her for 5 hours, and it was only because we were asking people, like, it wasn't a very populated area, but the people we did come across, we were saying, you know, this is my phone number. If you see this dog, can you please let me know? And word got around, and eventually, about 5 hours later, there'd been some sightings of her. And we managed to get her going. She was just about to go into a abandoned reservoir that had been all closed off. So luckily we got her back. But yeah, it was terrifying. And you know, when you're thinking, like, it's starting to get dark, and you're thinking, at what point do I have to stop looking and go home? Like, what do I do? So yeah, that was very scary. And ever since then, it was in some woods, and ever since then, I've never let her off the lead when I've been running in places like that, because it's just not worth the risk. But yeah, terrifying.
Yeah. Stuart, have you got any animals?
Yeah, I've got a dog as well.
Oh, okay. So you want to join the dog chat at the moment?
Yeah,
then?
well, I can agree with Andy that, you know, as dog owners, I think most dog owners are good. There are just plenty that, you know, when, you know, me and Amy obviously take our dogs out on leads quite a lot because we run with them, or if you just go somewhere that's quite busy, we prefer to keep them on leads. And the dogs that just run up to you with the owner not in sight, off lead, they've got no recall at all. And I'm like, how do you trust to let your dog off the lead? You get into a busy park, let your dog off the lead, you know it won't come back to you. And I just don't understand that mentality of, I will let my dog off and let it go, and I know if I call it, it will ignore me. It's crazy.
And the worst thing is the intact males that always come after Pippin. And like, Pippin's been Pippin's been neutered, but it's always these male dogs that like sniffing around her and stuff. And like the owners just won't, and it's a certain sort of owner as well, they won't call their dog back. It's like, if you're going to keep your dog intact, like, keep it under control as well, because it's bothering my dog now. So
Yeah.
Yeah, the dog will run up to you and they'll say, oh, it's friendly. So, okay, that's great, but you don't know if my dog is. My dog, it might be on a lead because it's not friendly. So, you know, why take that risk? I know there's certain dogs around here that I know are really nervous, and I kind of go the other way when I see them because I want to try and help the owner out a bit. But some people just let the dogs just sprint up, barking, and won't do anything about it, and it's just weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the things I've now got into the habit of, especially when I'm coming behind people.
Well, you shouldn't be coming behind people, Andy.
Phrasing there.
Yeah. Well, you know, like I say, it's woods. You know, if they, they're expecting people to be jumping out behind them, but so I'm stomping behind them, and I'll actually call out, and I'll look ahead, and I'll go like, "Oh, passing on your left, passing on your right," and that's, for me, that's a cue for them to pull their little pup in off the side, and the amount of people who just look at me and go, "Oh, okay," and then don't do anything about their dog, and conversely, when they're walking towards me, I shift over to the side they're not walking, expecting them to call their dog over, and they just let their dog just amble on the same trajectory and expect me to move out its fucking way. It's just, does my head in. So, but responsible people like you are fantastic. It's the ones who are irresponsible.
We're top class dog owners.
That's
we do
it.
everything perfectly.
Yeah.
Well, Stu is the second place national champion in the Canicross, aren't you? So you are an expert dog handler in my books.
I wouldn't say like the national championships. I'd say a national championships. If we're going to get picky.
I was bigging you up, but you know.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll take it.
And how many out of how many men, Stuart? Out of how many?
I think total maybe 18 or so eventually over the year. But the races I did, there was never more than 5. Most often 2 or 3. But you know, I can only beat what's put in front of me.
Exactly. Yeah.
Can't help if they're scared.
And you're still the winner, so that's
Absolutely.
done.
Well, second place. I was actually second to Michael Flatley.
Oh,
But not that one.
did he do a river dance on the way?
Not as far as I could see, because I beat him. When I raced him, I beat him, so...
Oh, that's all right then. He's too busy twiddling and twirling. I know it wasn't that one, by the way, but yeah, it's more fun to actually think it was. So how did you both get into running?
Well, I actually got into it around the 2012 Olympics, #Inspire a Generation. But honestly, it was around that time. I think it was just a coincidence. But I do remember the exact year because of that. And I think I can't remember really. It's a long time ago now. It's like 11 years ago. But I think I was just sat a lot. I just started university, and other than going to university, I was just sat all the time. So I wanted to be a bit more active, and I did a couched 5K,
Oh yeah,
which most people do. But I lived in a little village, and my house was sort of halfway up a big hill. So I used to do like 2 laps around the village was usually half an hour, like the amount of time you usually take to do like a couch to 5K each week, like the program. And I remember finding it really, 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 really difficult because my village was just all hills. And then a year later, I moved to Cardiff, which is absolutely flat. And I realised why I found it so difficult starting to learn. I thought I was like really, really unfit, but actually it was just because I was constantly running up hills, and running's not that hard if you do it where it's a bit flat. So yeah, that was it really, and it's just kind of stuck.
Yeah, for me, I was probably doing a similar thing, but I was working and I was after university, kind of mid-20s or so, and I started just putting on loads of weight, and I just realised I needed to do something. I didn't actually go to running straight away. What I did was start playing football, because I thought, I'm a enjoy football, I'm going to take the plunge and join a team. I stuck at it for like 3 years, and just to give you a clue of how bad I was, I won the most improved player 2 years in a row. So that's the base level I started at. It was so low that no one else could possibly have improved more than me. So and I was crap, but I was unfit, and so very occasionally I'd start just like running to training. Just it was only like a mile and a half or so. So I did that a little bit, and then on the days I heard about park run, so on the days that football was cancelled, I would go and do park run instead. Eventually gave up football because I was just that bad. And I realised, like, if you fuck up running, it's fine. No one shouts at you, and it's not your fault. Well, it is your fault, but it doesn't matter. So I enjoyed that aspect of it a lot more. I did enjoy the football, but I was terrible, so it wasn't that enjoyable. So yeah, just started running and kind of did the usual thing from there of just like progressing over the years.
Sounds good. And it's because like I said to you at the beginning, it's like I've never done any running apart. The only times actually I've ever run is, well, probably to the toilet if I'm desperate. And the other times, I seem to get a burst of energy when I'm drinking. So I tend to run quite a lot when I'm drinking, and I just seem really, really energetic. And I'm not quite sure how that happens, but so I get very energetic when I run. So yeah.
I'm just glad you didn't say you only ever run for a bus, because that's the really tedious non-runner thing that non-runners say. I think they're hilarious. I thought, here she goes.
No, I'm not that predictable, guys.
I mean, if you're wondering why you're on the podcast, it's because I am a runner, but I was a late bloomer. I started when I was 35. I'd always promised myself that I wanted to do some running, and I had after some half-assed attempts, I thought, come on, man, just get on and do it. Mm-hmm. And I was getting on really well. I managed to get up to, I think it was 6K, I think I got up to. And my company has a marathon that they sponsor over in Germany, so we get free places. But I mixed up my imperial and metric measurements. So I thought a half marathon was only 13 kilometres. So I'm like, I've done 6. What's another 7? And so I proudly told the office that I'd signed up, with 6 weeks to go. And, they're like, oh, no, that's ambitious. Well, it's only 13 kilometres. I went, no, 21. I went, oh, shit.
Yeah.
And I did it. And that gave me the bug. And I've kind of never looked back, and I've had a really tedious few years of injuries, but I'm getting back into my baseline now. But yeah, it's been for me, it's a real good mental health kick every other day to go out and just clear the cobwebs. I'm glad I took the plunge. Just gutted it took me until I was 35.
You've all got to start something when you're ready to, really, isn't it? So,
but it's funny. I was thinking the other day that part of the reason why I've been a bit stop-start is because I really overdid it for the first couple of years I took running, and I was just wondering, what would if I went back in time, what would I say to myself? And for me, it would be stop running like you're a Jack Russell chasing a tennis ball. You don't need to be quick all the time. You don't need to every single week do more than you did the week before. I think I went from 500 kilometres in year 1 up to 1,600 kilometres in year 2. year 3, sorry. So I just absolutely went hell for leather, and I wondered why I destroyed my leg muscles. So, with that in mind, if you could go back to your first days of running, what advice would you give yourself, having had these years of experience? I mean, you both are both accomplished runners. In your...
I think, we've done it for a long time, if that counts.
Yeah. And, you're regularly out doing the ultras and fell running and canicross, and Amy diligently trains every now and again for them.
I've been training quite a lot recently, actually. So I would like to say, but I, in terms of like advice, it's kind of similar to you in a way, because I think when I started running, like most people, it was all about how fast you could go, which is kind of what people think running is, just going as fast as you can and getting quicker and quicker and quicker. So it was all about road races and doing them as fast as possible. Like, what's your half marathon time? What's your 10k time? What's your 5k time? And I enjoyed the running aspect for mental health and getting out, but I didn't like running fast. I don't like anything where I'm out of breath. I hate it. It reminds me of like school PE lessons and feeling absolutely horrific. I don't like being all sweaty and out of breath and tired, things like that, to that degree.
Yeah.
So over the past sort of 4 or 5 years, I've gotten into ultra running and trail running, and it's so much nicer. Like, I tell people, like, oh yeah, I'm doing an ultra marathon, it's 30 or 40 miles, and they're like, that's really impressive. I'm like, it's not. I'm walking most of it and having a sandwich. Like, it's not, you know what I mean? Like, for me, it's actually a lot easier and a lot more enjoyable, because unless you're super, super elite, and even then, not necessarily, you're walking up all the hills, I walk some of the flats, and it's just so much nice, and you get to go to really beautiful places and countryside and stuff like that, and it's so much more relaxed. And now, even in my training, I don't feel like I have to, if I'm going out for a 15-mile run, I don't feel like I have to run all of it. It's okay to walk, because the sort of training I'm doing is for events where I'm going to be walking a lot, and that's fine. And it's just taken all that stress of, I've got to go out and I've got to run all these miles and I've got to be really out of breath, totally out of it. So I think if I could go back, I'd say you don't have to have a goal where your goal is you got to run really fast and you've got to get these certain times or whatever. Like, I love ultra marathons because the goal is always just to finish, and you might not finish because it's such a long day. It's such so far that so much could happen that means you couldn't finish. So it's just an achievement to finish them, which is really nice. So that's what I tell myself. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, that no shame in walking is a new mantra that I'm starting to pick up.
It's so much more enjoyable, because I was getting to the stage where I was getting quick, but I was dreading my long runs every single weekend. I was like, oh God, I've got to go on a long run. And I was hating it. I'm like, well, why am I doing this? I'm not winning prize money by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah.
So why? Well, what's the point,
Yeah. Yeah, no, I totally agree. And Stu, what about you? What would be your advice to yourself?
Yeah, I've been thinking about this. I'm kind of looking back at it, and I'm kind of happy with the way I started and the way I kind of progressed, really. I think it's, I started doing different kind of events fairly, I did the fairly standard 5k, 10k, half marathon, as a lot of people do, but then I started kind of going off doing trail races and different small races, which I really enjoy, and that's the thing I still kind of look for now. But I think perhaps for that thing for other people as well, if you're really getting into it, no matter when you start, if you do it properly and you're, with a bit of luck, you could be running into your 70s or 80s quite easily. So you can take your time. You don't need to run your fastest 5k next week and then the month after. Like, you will get quicker for a few years if that's what you want to do, if that's your aim. I know Amy is not that keen on it. I do quite enjoy running quick on occasion. I know a lot of people kind of get that kind of get a kick from that, but you will naturally get quicker over a few years, and that's fine. But after that, it'll start being harder, but you can really take your time with it. You don't need to do your first 5k, right, book in the 10k, done that, book in the half marathon, do the marathon. It doesn't, I think people just see that as the progression. It's the only way to do it, but it really, you can do it your own way, get advice, but do your own thing. I think is really important. Find out what you enjoy and go for that.
Surely you need to have a little rest in between, to recover your feet and stuff like that, isn't it? Or is it, is it something that, you just sort of harden up to kind of thing?
It's all about cross-training. You got to get the cross-training in.
No, resting is definitely more important than cross-training. Cross-training's hard, resting's easy. Well, for some people, actually, I think some people, they go at it too hard. They start running 5 or 6 days a week, no time to recover, and then they get tired and then they get injured. And you can see it coming sometimes with fairly new runners because they just go at it too hard too soon.
I'll tell you what, definitely listen to your body. If you're not feeling it, don't go, because that was another thing I kept doing. It was like, really not feeling it, but the training plan says you've got to do this target today, so it's like,
it's something you need to learn. Sometimes you do need to push yourself and sometimes you don't, and it's just kind of experience and getting used to what that is. If it's something that's painful that's stopping you, probably best. If it's just your head saying, I can't be bothered, once you get out there, you'll be fine, almost certainly.
And I think the being able to walk helps as well, like mentally knowing that it's okay to walk. Some days I'll walk more than others, and that's fine. I might have not done the distance if I didn't walk, and it's like, that's okay. I've done the distance. I've done the time on feet that I wanted for my training. That's fine. I might have not felt like running so much, especially as it gets warmer, because I hate the heat. But yeah, knowing that it's okay to just have a walk is good too.
Oh, I love that phrase, time on feet. I've been using that myself. It's like, no, this is time on feet. This is time on feet.
All time on feet. Like when I'm walking to work, I'm like, time on feet. Walking over to Morrison's, time on feet. Yeah.
No, honestly, it does sound good because, I've done my sort of fair share of walking and things like that. I'm building up slowly now, to sort of getting back out there and walking further distances and stuff like that, because I don't want to keep harping on the fact that I've got long COVID, but you really have to kind of take it easy and actually go into things very, gradually kind of thing. But yeah, I've really been enjoying, especially now the weather's slightly improving. It's it's nice to sort of get out and actually do some walking and things. And I'm quite a fast walker anyway, so I'm probably like a power walker kind of almost, rather than just I don't know, going slowly.
That does remind me of my other Codswallop, and that is the fair weather hikers who just insist on being 4 abreast on a path.
Yeah, I get annoyed by that.
Shall I leave? I mean, Amy, do you want to have a go at me as well?
No, I will say it's the people that come out on the weekend when it's sunny and they're not aware of their surroundings and just meandering along. And I'm like, where were you at 6 a.m. when it was raining on a Thursday morning? You have no right to be meandering along here. Be aware of your surroundings and show some respect. I don't say that to them. I just think that angrily as I go past. But
yeah, that's what I'm saying, is my eyes are boring into the back of their head.
Yeah. Well, I live in a seaside town, so it's filled up with tourists all the time. So, it's obviously during the summertime especially. And you get people on we've got a lifting town bridge, and people always want to take photos there and stuff like that. And it's just like, oh, for God's sake, everybody get out of my way, So I do understand. But I tend to go walking on my own because sometimes I have company, but for the most part, I go on my own. I'm happier with my own company than having to talk to someone.
I think I can't run with people. I run with my friend Matt, but that's because we're quite happy just to run with our music or podcasts on. But hats off to those who can go out, run and talk. I can't. I won't anyway, but hats off to them.
This is the thing, I'm usually somebody who just I run with my dog, who obviously isn't, I talk to her, she doesn't talk much back to me, but I usually listen to podcasts. But if I do run with someone else, I will just talk at them for however long we're running. I'm just one of those people. I will be like a podcast to them, it'll be like a live podcast for them. I just can't, every little thought that comes in my head, I'm just expressing it. It's sort of, the people who like that continue to run with me, and the people who don't like that will just ghost me and never run with me again. So.
The things, I can't do it at any speed and not get a stitch. I might as well practice. The only speed I can do it is a fast walk, and even then that's verging on stitch. But anything more than that, if I try and talk, it's just an instant stitch. So I just feel really bad.
Well, that's what they say. Your running should be at conversational pace, and I take that quite literally. Make sure I'm always having a conversation.
I would never meet the minimum cut-offs.
I wouldn't be talking full stop. And I'm a right gas bag, but yeah. So let's get into the podcast side of things. How did the podcast all start for you? And did you know each other beforehand? Or is that something that you kind of started?
Well, if we're going into podcast, Amy can take a back seat here because I don't think she's quite aware of what's going on even now.
I was thinking, right, this is Stewart's one. I'm just going to look through Twitter while he answers this one.
Go on mute, go and get a drink.
Basically, I've kind of always had like a little project on the go. So I've always had, I had like a YouTube channel for a little while. I had a blog about beards for a while in sport, which is entertaining for a while. And then I thought to myself, right, podcasts, everyone's doing podcasts now. That's what I'd quite like to do. I think my original thought was to do one for my running club. Because I'm quite, I've done a lot for my club over the years. I'm quite involved with everything they do. So I thought, well, that'd be fun. Something monthly or so, talking about what we've done in there. And one of the phrases that we used a lot in the club was running is bullshit. It's kind of the unofficial club motto, which we couldn't really put on the logo. Yeah. And so I thought that would be funny. But then I thought, wait, there's more potential there with that title. Because all the running podcasts are about how great it is and how wonderful it makes you feel, and all the runners high, and how the endorphins are wonderful and it's great for my mental health. But there's nothing there about how shit it is, because a lot of running is complaining. Because there are so many stupid bad things about running. So I thought there's an opportunity to be really negative about running, just bitch about all the things that I don't like. And so I knew that if I did a podcast, I need to do it with someone, because I know I work better with someone else. It probably has to be a woman as well for kind of better balance. Generally, I work better with women, I think, anyway, because I think I've always generally worked with women as well. And so I was literally just like thinking, right, who do I know that would be good? And so eventually someone suggested Amy. I was like, yes, Amy, because, we run together in the club back when Amy used to run with other people when she was social. And it was just like, yeah. And I literally sent Amy a message that just said, congratulations, you have been selected. And that's as much say as she had in it, really, because she had been chosen for it and she didn't really have any choice after that.
I was born into it, yeah. I was like selected, like, I don't know, the Buddha or whatever is the Pope is selected. It was just, it's my time.
And you just come. And you went along with it. And we've done it now for 4.5 years. You've gone along with it.
Well, that's literally, Stewart will just message me like, oh yeah, we're recording it this time. I'm like, yep. Then 5 minutes before I look at the show notes, I turn up, I say something with very little prep, and then that's it. I wash my hands of it until the next episode.
And she's the one people like. She's the one that gets all the comments.
When I used to do parkrun, because again, whoever I'd be running with, I'd be talking their ear off, and people used to go, "Oh, do you do running as BS? I recognise your voice." I was I'm the celebrity, and Stewart's just the editor, really.
Just does all the fucking work, yeah.
Don't worry, Stuart. I totally can feel your pain. I really can. Especially as I'll share a little story with you as well. It kind of involves Andy, but not really. Because obviously when you've got podcasts, you get the opportunities to go to Comic-Cons, as a guest pass sometimes. And I got the opportunity to go to Cardiff Comic-Con even. And so our listeners are called Salty Tadpoles. Make of it as you will. It is supposed to be rude.
I've seen that. I wasn't going to ask.
We love it. Me and Andy came up with that. We think it's brilliant.
Oh, then you'll love our salty tadpole interaction, or STIs.
Lovely.
So there's, I had a friend of mine who's also a salty tadpole who, he was actually he's still based in Cardiff. So I reached out to him and I said, I've got the spare pass. Do you want to come with me, and we'll reach out to people and speak to people and blah blah blah. Anyway, so he joined me. We were just chatting away, and he goes, "Oh, do you know, I really love your podcast. Do you know I really love Andy?" And I'm like, "So I've gone out of my way to get you this pass. I'm spending time with you. Mm-hmm. I sent you a free T-shirt, and you prefer Andy over me." So I was like, yeah, okay.
Yeah. And all Andy does is turn up, bitch and moan because he's had a really shitty week at work. And that's the one you love who does fuck all.
So I get it. I do.
I mean, guys, you literally are the running version of us. It's a complete sort of mirror. We're mirror opposites.
Thank you.
I mean, that's a compliment. It's not a backhanded compliment.
Sorry, just checking.
You get the better deal on this one, believe me, Because you're only wrangling Amy, because Gemma has to wrangle me and James, and James is cool.
Yeah. James is our Yorkshireman. Yeah, he's No, I love James, I do, I really do. But it is taking, we've been going for about 5 years now, maybe a little bit longer, but it took probably about 3 years for him to work out that he really needed to put his microphone in his towards his mouth to speak.
Yeah, we bought Amy a nice fancy microphone that she rigged up, and then for about 2 months she spoke into the back of it.
Yeah.
And I was spending ages editing it, thinking, why is she so quiet? This new microphone's not very good. Until someone pointed out on one of the videos we posted, like, is it the right way round? And I was like, oh, for God's sake.
No.
Oh no, but that is funny.
Pretty standard, yeah. From my end, I'm just like, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, it doesn't matter, it's backwards. Stuart can just edit it, it's fine. We'll fix it in post.
Yeah, exactly.
108 episodes, and I don't think you've actually listened to any of them, have you?
No, I'm the Johnny Depp of the podcast world. I don't watch back my own stuff.
Oh, can you say that anymore? Is that a good thing to say anymore? Probably not.
Well, allegedly, we don't know. We don't know whether that's a good thing to say anymore.
I suppose it's better than the, I don't know, Jimmy Savile of the podcast world.
Yeah, that's not a claim we make anymore.
No. No one can fix it anymore.
Like I said, I did go back. I found you quite late on in your catalogue, so I was one of your people that you don't like, who goes back to day one. And then progressively over the weeks, because it is like, for me, I run 4 times a week, so there was a time where you were in full runs, so I got the quick evolution of the podcast.
No, it's not that we don't like that, it's just that we worry that if anyone listens to that many that quickly, they're going to cause themselves damage. It's a lot of negativity in one go.
Yeah.
Honestly, for me, it's just more that I could use on this show. So you were more sort of like feeding the eel.
Content, great.
Yeah. So actually, Gemma owes you. Thank you.
I would never have had this grumpy arsehole if it wasn't for you two.
Yeah. And I wouldn't have a super fan who goes to Comic-Con with her. So yeah. But you've had a lot of good guests, and you've also, between you, discussed a lot of things on the podcast that were surprising to me. That just as a pure get out and run, I don't do clubs and events, that I was just ignorant of. So during your time, what's been the most surprising thing that you've come across that's really kind of like gone, oh, okay?
Well, for me, it can be summed up with 3 words, and that's Pin Skin Man.
Oh, of course.
What's that?
Oh, God. So
The man, the legend, the myth.
So basically, it's this. I may not be recounting this properly. I'm trying to remember where the whole thing came from, but I'm pretty sure it emerged from these pictures of this guy who was running races with no t-shirt, no top on, and so was pinning his race number to his bare chest, to his skin.
Oh my
This was
God.
one of our guests who had seen him at a race and told us about it, and we were just like, whoa, tell us about this guy, because we don't care about what you've done anymore. Now we want to know about this. So we found photos of him at other races, and a couple other people said, oh yeah, I've seen him as well, because I think he did a couple of races where he got to the first checkpoint incredibly fast at an ultra and then dropped out, and so we were like, what is this guy's deal? And eventually we tracked him down. I think I found him via eventually his work website, because I found his name from results. I found where he works. I then found his real name on his Strava, and I left a comment on there just saying, please email us because we want to talk to you. And eventually we got him on.
He was quite a funny guy. He started an Instagram, didn't he? Like called Pin Skin Man.
Yeah, because he'd heard that we had talked about it. And so he kind of knew he had this random little cult following in the UK. So he was in New York.
Oh, okay. But no, that's crazy. I mean, that sounds really painful, doesn't it?
Yeah, it sounds like an infection waiting to happen as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
He was just so low-key about it. He was just like, well, I just needed to pin it somewhere, so I just did that. And it just seemed like a normal thing to him.
Yeah. If anyone listening wants to see him, if you just look on Instagram at Pin Skin Man, you will see Pin Skin Man in action.
I think I might do it now. No, I'll wait. But no, I definitely will be checking that out when we finish. So yeah, let's wrap this up quick. No, I'm joking.
But that was my favourite. That's my all-time favourite, and I still can't get over it. Pin Skin Man. It just amazes me. The idea of pinning a race number to your bare chest. It just cracks me up. I love it so much.
Safety pin each corner, just through the skin.
Oh,
through the skin, straight through the skin.
Oh, that sounds like something Jackass would do, doesn't it?
And the funny thing is, like, you don't have to put the race number on your top half. Like, most people just, if they're running shirtless for whatever reason or whatever, you can just pin it to your shorts. You can just pin it onto the material of your shorts. You don't have to have it on your chest. So it's a conscious decision he's making to do this, which is just absolutely bizarre.
Oh God. Well, I never thought I was getting that story, so I'm glad that was one of the questions. I don't know whether to be really happy or really actually quite horrified.
Both. That's the beauty of Pin Skin Man.
Yeah.
About you, Stu?
I can't really top that. But I do like, I kind of, as you mentioned there, how we talked about different topics. I think it was fairly early on as well. We did kind of pivot from talking about stupid things. Like the very first episode is called Nipples is Bullshit, or Nipples are Bullshit, just because I rubbed my nipples raw on a run, which I still do 4 years later. And we talked about stupid things like chafing and injuries and blisters. But quite quickly, we then started talking about actual bullshit, like real things that are in running that are important that we didn't know much about. So there's lots of racism, lots of misogyny and homophobia and transphobia. There's so much that goes on in running. And we started talking about that quite a lot because it's something that we both kind of feel quite passionately about. And we started talking about that a lot. And I think that's kind of been a bit of a definition to the way we've talked about and approached talking about running over the last 4 years. I think we did that fairly early on. We never really planned to do it. There was never any discussion. We just kept finding news stories, and it's just something we were both interested in.
And I'll tell you, they're the ones that really sort of got me. It was like, really? You know, in 2022, 2023, this is still a thing, you know?
No. The one that always amazes me is the men's and women's cross-country stuff for some of the cross-country races. The distances are shorter for women. I'm like, come on, our wombs aren't going to fall out after a certain distance. Like, it's okay. Like, what is that level of inequality for no reason just astounds me.
And that sort of stumps me when I'm out running, and I'm just like, what? You know, I'm almost writing a letter to the editor, you know, foaming at the mouth, you know, you know, and it just, and I found them really insightful. Have I done anything about it? No, because I'm a lazy git, but it's one thing I do talk about a lot when I do talk to other runners, is just that disparity and things like the deferral in, you know, when you're pregnant and not being able to defer from a race because that was your problem.
Yeah, it's considered the same as an injury.
Yeah, which is
in
ridiculous.
Most races. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, and I just think in general in life. I mean, I was gonna sort of bring it up a bit. You know, well, I was going to bring it up off mic, but I'm actually going to bring it up now. It's like when I sent you both an email earlier to say, you know, like, hi guys and gal, you know, kind of thing, and those in between. I didn't mean it in a horrible way. I meant it in a I never know what to say kind of thing, you know, with those kind of things, you know. But it's just I just don't understand why there is those. I don't know why we've got to be in this world where everything is kind of being separated and stuff like that now. If I hope I'm making sense, or if I'm just wittering on. But I'm trying to say basically I agree with you all, and that everyone should be treated equally is what I'm trying to say there. So yeah,
you had the non-binary runner who was coming on really sort of passionate about the opening up the classes, that it's not just a men's class and a women's class, and that never occurred to me. Absolutely never occurred to me, and it was just like it challenging me in my own ignorance, if you will.
Yeah.
I think that's why it's important to hear from people from marginalised groups, because often the people who are not in those marginalised groups, who are, say, race directors or whatever, won't be thinking, not because they're nasty or anything like that, but they just things won't occur to them. So I think it's always useful to hear from people who have been directly affected and just say, like, how can we make this race or our run club or whatever more inclusive, and then listen to what they have to say. And I think it's that simple.
Yeah, I worked in kind of a couple of equalities charities for quite a few years, and being straight, white, male, middle-aged-ish, like all this stuff doesn't happen to me, and so I wasn't aware of it. And I think most men in the same situation just simply aren't aware of the amount of things that happen to other people, and even kind of just experiences that women have running. Plus, if you start layering on race and disability and sexuality and all of that as well, so much shit happens and so much people get away with, and we are just simply not aware of it because it doesn't happen to us directly. So I think it's really useful to talk about it and highlight it, and just at the very least, just let people know it's happening.
It was funny the other week when I think, Amy, you were sort of happy that for the first time at an aid station you could get the feminine hygiene products as a matter of course, and I was like, what? You didn't have that already?
Yeah, okay. But even as a woman, like, you just assume you've got to... I think you get so used to thinking, I've got to make sure I take all my own stuff and stuff like that. But from a race director's point of view of an ultra, if you're providing things like your nutrition, and if you're providing an aid station which has nutrition and water and things like that, because some ultras, they'll provide you with some aid, but you have to carry the calories yourself, whatever. But if you're saying, no, we have these aid stations that provide you with these things you need, even to the point where they're providing sort of places to charge your phone and stuff like that, then why shouldn't you be able to get your sanitary products from there as well? It just makes sense. But even as a woman, you sometimes you don't even think about that until a race suddenly offers it to you, and you're like, oh yeah, that's actually really useful. But also makes sense at an ultra marathon where there's an aid station offering various aid,
Yeah. Because that is the kind of thing that you really don't think about at all, is it? Like you said, it's, well, I mean, obviously, if it's your time lease, you are thinking about it yourself. But it's nice that somebody else is actually considerate enough to actually think about it for you as well. So, and
also, like, having it out so you can just grab it like you would grab anything else is hugely useful, because not that you need to be embarrassed about those things, obviously, but it's like a whole thing then if you need to ask and stuff, and then somebody needs to find something for you, it becomes this big deal. It's like, if it's just on the table so you can just grab what you need, like everything else, because it shouldn't be a big deal,
No. Yeah.
And the other thing as well, and it's one of the reasons, other reasons why I listen to, is that the reason I like podcasts, because it keeps you running slowly. So listen to music, so heavy metal, and of course you end up running to the beat, and thrash metal isn't good for a slow pace run. So podcasts, but I don't want to listen to challenging stuff because I don't want my heart rate to get up. So a nice comedy podcast like yourselves is great. So when you start reading out some of the stuff from like Runner's World or from the internet, just the marketing bullshit that the companies like Brooks get away with for new trainers. Was there like a cereal one that they introduced or something?
Yeah, they had trainers, and the design was based on popular cereals. So basically they were just multicolored shoes, and some of them had kind of loops on, and some of them were kind of stripy, and they were apparently based on cereal. And that was it. That was the whole thing. There was nothing about how much the shoe weighed or how thick it was or how it tied to your foot or anything like that. It was just about, oh look, it's great colors, limited edition. And but they sell.
Yeah, and they had a St. Patrick's Day one as well, didn't they?
Yeah, that's the other one I was just thinking of as well. They've got these like bizarrely stereotypical green trainers with 4-leaf clovers on, and like little rainbows, And just like, because that's just an American idea in the 1950s of what Ireland is.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I hate it new sort of thing, yeah. Potato!
I was shocked they didn't say to be sure on the marketing material anyway. I bet they considered it. I bet they did.
Yeah, exactly. Oh dear. Yeah, they think that Irish people are leprechauns. Yeah.
And then you pull out the gems of like that. Was it the one in China where the guy smoked 60 cigarettes on a marathon or something?
Oh, the Chinese running community is nuts. Like there's so much.
China's
like,
weird.
It's just there's so much cheating happening, and it's just absolutely crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, like before lockdown, we were getting quite regular stories. I think like throughout 2019, because I think like running just like exploded in China. Everyone started doing it, but like there wasn't quite the culture and the etiquette and the experience. And so people were just cheating on turning up and wearing really strange things. This guy, it was fairly recently, smoked 25 cigarettes during a marathon and has done it for a while. And China have now had to ban smoking in marathons because it makes them look bad, because it made the international press. And China doesn't like to look bad, so they've basically told the running authorities you have to ban smoking in events, which is what a thing to have to ban in a marathon.
Yeah.
But not because it's bad for your health, because it makes the country look bad.
Yeah. Although to be fair, if I was doing a marathon, I'd definitely, be smoking away.
Well, my friend Matt, he will have a cigarette just before he goes out running, and when he comes back, he's got lungs of iron. Nothing phases him
At the moment.
At the moment, yeah. So it beggars belief. But one of the things you were talking about recently was race events, and you got me thinking. What? Because you were talking not just about the the website, and Stuart, I'm with you. You need to be able to sort and filter the results as you need.
Stats are the most important thing about races, as we know.
Yeah, that's the only useful thing about Strava. It's just a collection point for data points. You just ignore the gamification. But for me, if I was to have my perfect race, it would just be rock up and run. The start line is open from this time to this time. Your time will be on your chip. It's not going to be gun time. It'll be chip time. When you're ready, just come and go. Because I don't want to do the events anymore, because I don't want to get there 2 hours before I'm due to set off, so I can stand in the cold in a pen with people I don't really know or want to know and make small talk. I just want to go, right, what time? Excellent. Off I go. Get it done, go home, have my burger and chips, be happy. But then when you were talking about like the enforced cost of the medals and the tops, it's like, that would definitely have to be made to order, so you'll get exactly as many as people actually want. But what would be the runningisbs perfect race event, or the one that you would set up?
I think we've kind of talked about this before. I think we would like to do a race, if we say we call it 5k, where it'd be 5k for the women, it would be 4k for the men. So we'd switch that immediately.
Nice.
If you're an affiliated runner, it would actually cost you more rather than less as well. Basically, we just want to switch things up. So the men would run less. The affiliated runners would pay more. I think there would also be, because some races have minimum cut-offs where you have to be able to run a certain speed. I think this would have the opposite, a maximum cut-off. So if it was 5k, you wouldn't be allowed to run faster than 20 minutes. I think that would be nice. I think that would be a disqualification if you ran too fast.
And I think the route should go all through farmland, and every field would have dangerous livestock in it, like just causing issues, like horses chasing you, cows like stampeding towards you,
Yeah, maybe a few different options as well. Like, which way is it? It doesn't matter. You can go that way if you want. You can go this way. Just throw in a few options as well. A few obstacles as well. They're fun. Bit of water and a bit of mud.
Yeah. Stinging nettle patch.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That'd be funny.
Yeah.
Sunday walkers with their 2 metre extendable leads.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, it's not a proper trail run until there's blood. So if anyone got back unscathed, that could be a disqualification as well.
Yeah, do it again.
You'd have to leave a cheese grater at the last aid station for them so they could just rough their knee up.
Yeah, perfect.
Well, where can I sign up?
Well, actually, it would either be that or something I've considered putting out before as a joke to see if it would work, but basically putting out a virtual race where we would say you can do any distance, you can run any time, you can run anywhere, do anything you like. You don't receive any, there's nothing free from it for the environment, but you still have to pay us £20. That would be ideal, because that's kind of what virtual races are. They can do whatever the hell you want, but pay us. And I do not understand those.
No.
But yeah, we could say you don't get anything from it because of the environment.
We'll plant a tree for you, maybe.
Well, yeah.
And then just take an acorn from a tree and just throw it in a field, and there you go, planted.
Just shake a tree. There you go. Get some seeds off that. Yeah, the BS virtual race would it would involve us doing nothing at all, but people still paying us, and then they can just say they've done it if they wanted to.
Sounds perfect.
You recently paid one of the listeners to do a race, or rather you paid their entry.
Yeah, well, we do take in some money via our Patreon, and we've got affiliate links for tea, because that's kind of a big deal we are now. And so we thought, it'd just be a nice thing. Perhaps we should do it again soon, actually. But just a couple of people, we got them to write to us to say, here's a race I really don't want to do. Can you pay for it for me? And so we just thought that'd be fun. So we just paid for a few people just to get a report back and just to give an opportunity. We said, if it's a race that's perhaps a bit long or a bit too difficult and you're not sure about it, and you don't really want to stump up the money for it, we'll take that for you if you just tell us all about how bad it was.
Yeah, create some content for us.
Yeah, that's mainly what we are now. It's just if we can get other people to make the content for us, that is ideal.
Oh, God, I know. Yeah.
One of the best applications we had for that, which we couldn't actually, we couldn't let them win because the race was really expensive. But I'm trying to see if I remember this right, Stewart, but didn't he want to run an ultra somewhere where he threw an engagement ring into the sea? Like, he broke up with his fiancée and then threw the engagement ring into the sea. And he told us this really long story about this and how he wanted to run this race that ended where he threw his engagement ring into the sea. And I was like, what? And then he's married somebody else now.
Yeah. It was like across Cornwall or across Dorset from like south to north coast, something like that. But it was about 270 quid. So we're not paying 270 quid. It's a great story, but we ain't giving you that much money.
No.
Yeah, and also, I'm not sure what your wife thinks about that. If you're like, I really want to run this race where I symbolically end where my fiance threw our engagement ring into the sea. I'm like, Jesus.
I was going to also talk about the fact that you have got the affiliated, sponsorship and stuff like that. How did you go about getting that? Because I'd love to have a sponsor.
We were incredibly lucky. We just kind of banged on about tea anyway, because we both drink tea. We were both always drinking it during the episode, and eventually we were just like, what are you drinking? What am I drinking? And there was this one particular company called Bird and Blend. This is a great way to get a link in for us here. And we talked about them so much.
Can we get a cut of this, though? Yeah,
absolutely not.
Okay, cool.
We banged on about it so much. Other people would then go to the shops and online, and they always say, where'd you hear about us? And they put in the name of our podcast. And I think we may have tweeted them once or twice as well. And then at some point, they just decided to put in an affiliate scheme. And we were one of the people they contacted to ask if we wanted to take part in it. So they came to us. Awesome. We were incredibly lucky like that. But the thing is, it's something that we do like. It wasn't, we've just we haven't, someone's just, we're not selling VPNs or mattresses that we've never seen before. It's, it's something that we actually care about. And, if other people had ever approached us, I think at some point, some kind of coffee or caffeine tablet thing did email us, and I didn't even reply, because I thought, well, we're never ever going to use those. It just sounds like absolute bollocks. And there's loads of like what is it, like the CBD oil and things like that. That's a really common one as well now, that gets advertised on Instagram and stuff. And if someone like that had ever asked, it would have been a no. But this is just something that we talked about anyway. It's something we liked, and it just made sense for us.
Yeah.
And I'm very honest about the teas. Like I did say the other day, one smelt of cat piss, but it tasted fine, So I'm not kissing their arse or anything, so...
Obviously, it's affiliate links, so unless people click on it, we ain't getting paid. So it's not as if they're just paying us money and telling us to to say things. It's we have to convince people to go and buy it if they want it. So it's it's a good deal for them because they don't have to do anything, and it puts the work on us. But we do it because we like it.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, because I think that way as well. Because if we were to ever have like something like that, then it would have to be something that we're all interested in, or at least one of us on the podcast was interested in. But for the most part, when you got 3 people to consider, it's different. But
when I listen to, I hate listening to podcasts and they start doing an advert for, like, I've listened to one and people from a TV show and they start talking about like an online recruitment company, and I'm like, guys, you are never going to, like, okay, you're doing a good job of making the advert funny, but you have not used this. You will never use this. You do not give a shit about recruitment online. Yeah, it just feels like a real sellout.
Yeah,
and Bird and Blend as a company are really nice as well. And this is not me selling this up to anyone or anything like that, but there was a race near us, like a backyard ultra sort of circular route race where you just do lots of laps, basically as many laps as you can within a certain amount of time, and they were asking about like catering and stuff like that, and I think it was you, Stewart, who got in touch with Bird and Blend, and they sent a load of samples, like tea samples, over so they could have the tea for the race, which I thought was really good.
This little race company were really worried that they would have to put their prices up by £1 to cover the tea and coffee, and they were really worried about that, which was kind of really sweet. And so I said, right, I'll sort some tea out for you because we've got a contact. And they sent over like 500 bags of tea. And it's quite expensive
amazing.
tea.
Yeah.
So you don't mind, like, you feel honest when you're saying like, oh, this is a really good company. The tea is genuinely really good, and they seem like a really nice company. Then you don't feel like you're lying or anything,
Yeah, exactly. So that is, that's definitely the thing to keep in the back of your mind, isn't it?
Yeah, we also have a Patreon, which we are constantly surprised people keep signing up for. The problem is now somehow we've got into the habit now of singing everyone's names to the tune of a song.
I did hear that, yes.
Unfortunately now, we're genuinely trying to put people off and trying to get people to cancel their subscriptions because we've got too many and it takes too long, and it's really, really hard to do. To have a list of randomly assorted names to fit them to the lyrics of a song, or you're singing in like a karaoke mode in like YouTube or something, it's fucking hard work, man. Yeah. That takes the longest thing each week.
And if your name is hard to pronounce, I'm not pronouncing it right, so your name will be pronounced differently every single week,
So definitely be careful what you wish for when you go looking for money on a podcast.
Yeah. If it means more work, then maybe not. The dollar signs are shrinking in my eyes. Or pound sign, should I say. Yeah.
So it's just going to sort of moving on to about the running community. I mean, I run solo myself, but I do see that the people running out in the packs, and then just like listening to your show, and also the other one with the 2 famous comedians. I won't let them overshadow yours.
And obviously talking Codswallop as well, hey?
Yes, and talking Codswallop. It's that you get a bit of an insight into the various running communities. So I was just going to ask you, what do you enjoy the most about the running community as a whole?
I think we're both letting each other go first, aren't we?
Do you want to go? You want to go first? Oh.
Amy, are you involved in the running community at all? Are you aware of its existence?
No, I just got my blinkers on. No, I will say like that when I mostly come into contact with the running community, if you could call it that, is when I'm at races and ultras and stuff. And I guess it's because it's that environment anyway, but it's just like how supportive people are and very generous with their time. I think a lot of people who are into running are also into seeing other people succeed and encouraging people and things like that. So you often find at races volunteers at aid stations, at ultras and things like that, and they're just like incredibly supportive and they're excited to be there, and it's really lovely. Like when I did my last ultra, as soon as you get to an aid station, they're like, oh, let me help you, let me take your water and refill it for you. And that most of them are runners, not all of them, but most of them are runners themselves, hence why they're getting involved. So I think that people tend to be very generous with their time in that respect, and very supportive of others, which I think is is really nice.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
Yeah. People who go out and support like marathons for the whole day. Thank God there are those people, because I don't think I could hack it for that long. Because it's a hard job. I would rather run for 4 hours than stand still for 4 hours. So I'm trying to do a lot more supporting now. I'm trying to get into it more to help with my club, because I've done a lot with them. So we're doing a lot. We're really trying to attract people that, if they're not running a race, a big thing is we're saying at the moment, if you're not running, you're cheering. And so we're trying to get people along, because it really makes such a difference to get so many people along. And then it helps them kind of build confidence and get to know people, because we get so many new people in our club every week that come along, and just trying to get them to do extra things there, because you can see they're obviously you're not quite sure. They've joined this club as a bit of a one-off maybe, and then you can see they think, well, I'll have a go and I'll go along to this thing and see what happens. And then they come every week, and then you get to know them really well and you see them progress. And that has been fantastic. I've been kind of doing this for quite a number of years now in our club, but we've really had a big explosion of people recently, and people just coming along to stuff and supporting, even if they've got no interest in that distance. They don't necessarily really know anyone that's running, but they know the people in the club, so they know the t-shirt, and they'll come along and just support, and that has been really, really good.
I think the other thing to say as well, I was just thinking of you saying that, Stuart, is that a nice thing about the running community is that it can be quite easy to make friends as well. So often as an adult, it can be difficult to make friends, can't it? You sort of have your work colleagues and you have your partner and your family, and then it's sort of, especially if you don't have hobbies that are social, if you're more creative or whatever you might be doing. So I actually joined a running club when I was doing my PhD, and I was spending basically 7 days a week in front of my computer, not really interacting with anyone else. I'd been living in Cardiff for a few years, but I'd been studying, so I hadn't really made many friends. And then after a few sort of months of being at this run club, I was getting on with people to the point where I was then going out for coffee with them, with runs with just them. And the nature of running, like I said, I talk a lot, but you do tend to talk a lot. If you're doing longer races, you'll often discuss your bowel movements at some point. And there's that, but there's that sense of like a shared experience as well. So you find that often you can make friends quite quickly. And I guess that's why I don't really do the big like run club social stuff anymore, because I feel like I've made enough running friends that I just go out with individuals now. I have like quite a nice group of friends now who I mostly met through running, because you start with that shared interest and then it sort of builds out. So I think that's the other nice thing about the running community and the nature of the sport and the activity itself, is that it can be quite an easy way to make friends as an adult.
I flirted with the idea of joining the local running club. I
think it depends on the run club as well, though. Like if the run club's like super, super competitive, and if it's better to, I think the clubs that are a bit like the club that me and Stuart are in, like that are a bit more, the social aspect is sort of emphasised a bit more, because some run clubs are super elite and competitive and not as friendly, I feel.
The ones that are likely to go for a run and then run to the pub after. Is that the case, or?
There is an Instagram account I was following. It's called the Fishtown Runners, and basically, they were posting what appeared to be the end of their run when they were in some local bar, all drinking a beer, all dressed in their lycra. So you weren't quite sure whether they were actually running or not, or whether they were,
Yeah, it's quite a lot of bars and microbreweries have their own run clubs now. That's fairly common, and even like cafes and things will have their own kind of social running groups.
Wow.
That's fairly common.
Yeah.
Because that's what it's more about. I mean, quite often we would go out and do our like standard Monday, say, half-hour run, and then we'd spend an hour in the cafe.
Yeah.
Or we've done before, we had 35 people out on a run, and then we had 45 people in for pizza straight afterwards. I'm like, where did all these extra people come from? You went on the run. But that's more important. That's what people are going for. Well, that's what people are staying for.
Yeah. I would say if you're into running, or you're looking to get into running, but you're also at the same time wanting to expand your social circle and make friends and stuff, I think it's a really good activity for making friends, for sure.
Sounds good.
And a bit, and the volunteers, because events could not take place without the volunteers, because was it you guys were saying about the paid staff being absolute rubbish?
Sometimes big races will kind of have to employ volunteers, or have to pay marshals, and
which is like
obviously
madness,
and they don't give a shit.
Yeah, and that's like mad to me. So the crazy thing about the volunteers like being paid, well, it's not really volunteering if you're paid, it's marshalling, isn't it? I've volunteered for a few of the big city marathons, like half marathons like Cardiff Half, and the great thing about that is the free stuff, and cheering people on. It kind of ruins the community aspect when people are getting paid for it. So
because you're absolutely right, with volunteers, they know what most runners need, with an eye of keeping the crowd in check, making sure that someone doesn't just decide that actually now is the perfect time to cross the road when the pack are coming through. And
especially at like ultras, like when they're taking your water bottle and like sorting it out for you, like I don't want to have just ran like 30 miles. I don't want to be putting my tailwind into my water bottle and shaking it and trying to fill it and stuff like that. The fact that they know just to grab that and to sort that out for you is really nice. And of course we don't say that volunteers have to do that. It's nice that they're doing that and they know that that's what runners will want.
Yeah.
Whereas the paid people, 9 times out of 10, they could be doing a football match, they could be doing a car park. Today they just happen to be doing a run. So all they're interested in is making sure that the crowd are keeping out the way, but they're not really there, as you say, to support the runner and give them that extra power up. So obviously with the positive, I think we now need to touch on the negative. So with all that positivity, really, what frustrates you about the running community? What about the running community is bullshit?
It's like the modus operandi of the podcast, isn't it? This is
Andy, also, can you move back towards your microphone, please, as well?
Sorry.
Thank you.
Is that
No
better?
worries. It's just he's got a tendency to wander off. And I heard that, in fact, that he just wandered off. So
See, she can call me to heal. Isn't that good?
I did send him a message earlier, but I don't think he actually saw it, saying, move closer to your microphone again, please. But you didn't see it. So.
Because for once in my life, I'm trying to be professional and I'm not sort of looking at Google News.
Oh, look, we can hear you now. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt there, but yes, I could hear him slowly getting further and further away.
Well, being very aware, talking of someone who has a podcast about running, but I think one of the big things is like everyone's got a fucking opinion, haven't they? And just like people give a shit so much and argue about things and go back and forth and take it so seriously. Yeah. And like if you're running in the middle of a pack in a park run every week, like no one cares. I have seen that this kind of going around a little bit more recently on some of the kind of the few runners I follow on Instagram, because I don't really follow people I don't know that are big runners on Instagram. But one of them especially does a big thing about no one cares. Like it's your thing, you're doing it, you care about it, that's great. No one else cares as much about it as you do.
Yeah.
And so you just need to chill out a little bit and actually try and enjoy it. You don't need to take it seriously. I mean, if you're pushing to get into whatever squad you want to get into and you're pushing yourself hard, okay, that's one thing. But if you're not, if you're just a normal runner, just chill out a little bit.
Yeah. I would say in a similar vein is those runners on Instagram that every time they go out for a run, they have to create some post with some long, like literally paragraphs caption, like some cheesy inspirational shit about their training run, like their 3-mile training run or whatever. Every single time. It's just like, have a day off. Have a day off. Or just put like I post like a lot on Instagram. So part of why I like running is I like taking pictures on my run. I like taking pictures and I post on my Instagram, and half the time I just post an emoji underneath it. Like I'm not often posting that much. It's just like paragraphs every time. It's like, what can there be to talk about of you running the same route every day?
Yeah.
Jeez.
1 mile fast, 400 meters slow, then 6 minutes at this pace, then 3 minutes at that pace, then a rest, and it's like, oh come on, it doesn't.
And then underneath
matter.
all that, it's like, this was really tough. When I was 10 years old in PE, I had a really traumatic. And it's like, shut up, jeez.
It's also the ones that do that. Is that I need to hold myself accountable. And like, no, you don't. You don't need to hold yourself accountable to anyone because everyone else doesn't care. It doesn't matter to anyone. And you're not looking through Strava and like, well, Amy hasn't run in the last 2 days, has she? Fucking hell. No one gives a shit. Come on. And if they do, they don't matter.
No.
Accountability is just such a strange one for me. because I don't understand. Like you are not holding yourself accountable to anyone because no one else is that invested in you.
And if it's that awful, if you're really struggling, like, do something else. No, you don't have to run. No one's making you run. Like, it's okay. Like, you go do something else instead. Go to the gym or something. It's fine.
Yeah, or go for a lovely walk or whatever. Yeah. Yeah.
I tell you, Strava is. I wish I'd never subscribed to it, but like Facebook, it's something I now feel that I can't untangle myself from because I fear that the world will collapse if I do. So I keep feeding the beast, and I don't want to.
I literally just use it to track my mileage. That's it. I saw that, when they do the stats at the end of the year and they give you that rundown, kind of like Spotify Unwrapped, but for Strava. And it said something like I'd received, so kudos for those who don't know, like it's kind of like a like button on Facebook, and people can leave like a like on your workout, on your run, your cycle, or whatever, and it's called kudos. And I had received, I think, about 1,000 kudos, and I'd liked other people's post twice over the year because I don't use it. I don't use it. Yeah, I just track stuff and that's it.
Yeah, I just make sure that because I've set myself a nice little routine where I want to increase for 3 weeks and then drop for a week. So I just literally go on for the progress and see, okay, how many more kilometres do I need to do this week? And do I need to drop or increase? And that's all I really use it for. And then sometimes I feel guilty and I will go through and just hit like on everything that's in my news feed just to satisfy all those people who have liked my post in case they have. And I don't want to offend them because I'm English.
There's I think there's a Twitter account called Strava Wankers, and it's just these people that use Strava for everything and are really like finicky about it. And I remember a post on there was a screenshot that somebody who tracked a workout, and it was called fire alarm, and basically they tracked themselves evacuating a building for a fire alarm, and that was that was it. There was like a few meters or something, and they were like, "Oh, fire alarm!" You don't have to track everything. You don't have to track your walk to the shops or whatever. Like, it's fine.
I tracked my walk to the shops earlier.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, you track all your walks.
There's an option on there to hide it from the feed, so no one else even has to look at it. So I'll do that. I'm a good Strava person.
Why does it matter?
Like that.
But why are you tracking every time you move? Like, why?
Because I like tracking things. I like statistics.
Because that graph is not going to be correct unless absolutely every meter is covered.
I like things to be monitored. I like that.
Because you need to find that window where you are the most active. So when you're in that lead up to a big event, you know which windows you need to be careful on moving, because that is when you've got the biggest risk of injury during that 3-hour period.
Yeah, and you'll walk to the shop.
I don't take it that seriously. I just like to know the number at the end of the year, that's all.
That's it. Well, that's one thing I've had to stop doing. I've had to stop looking at what my average pace is, because I need to stop caring.
Average pace doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
Because the further you go, the slower you're going to run, of course. But then occasionally you might run fast. But, your average pace over anything other than a single run is just nonsense.
That's it. 'Cause, especially in the summer when it's hotter, so you're going to run a lot slower. It took ages to beat that out of me. And that's probably one thing, if I'd give advice to any runner, is don't chase the numbers.
Yeah, I quite like now. I quite often go and do like a trail run or something, and we get 2 hours in and we've done like a really kind of shit distance and a shit pace. But I can just laugh at that now. I'm like, it's taken us 2 hours to do 6K, and it's just funny. I don't care. I'm not worried about it. It's because it's taken that long. Because it's taken that long, I've had a good time. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So I was going to say, I think, this is sort of a good place to sort of start wrapping up the episode. But before we do, what's your like social media and things to sort of promote and whatnot, like Patreon, and I think you've got a website as well, haven't you?
Yes, so it is everywhere. It's your usual podcast thing. It's called Running is BS. The reason for that is we wanted to call it Running is Bullshit, but Apple don't let you have swear words in titles, which we didn't realise.
Yeah.
We had a whole thing. What was her name? Bobby or
Bobby.
something at
Yeah,
Apple?
Bobby from
We
Apple.
had back and forth with Bobby from Apple. I'm sure it was just a bot, but Bobby was not having any of the things we wanted to call it. So, yeah.
So, we had to
enough.
settle on BS. So, Running is BS anywhere, and that's the same on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram as well.
That sounds good. And so that's also your website name as well, isn't it? So.
Yep, runningisbs.com.
Yes. Sounds very good. And I'm toying with the idea of getting a website, but I don't know if I've got the patience to monitor it. So I'm so lazy. I can be lazy at times.
Yeah, well, at this stage, like, what are you, 260 odd episodes in? Yeah, that's the right time to do it. I mean, we did it. I think we got our Instagram like 70 episodes in. We got our website like 50 episodes in. We did it all completely the wrong way around. But, so what? It was fine.
It's just I just think to myself, well, what do you put on it? It's like I'll figure it out. If it's going to happen, it will happen.
One of the main reasons we got Instagram, I think, specifically because we had a guest coming on who we'd only contacted through Instagram, and she had a shed load of followers. We thought, right, we need an Instagram so she can share it. We can get all the follows. I had a great conversation with a really good interview. She didn't share it.
Oh no!
Didn't acknowledge it.
No.
Ooh, yeah, that's frustrating when that happens.
That's
harsh.
What a horrible person. On that note, if you'd like to share this episode when it's released this Sunday, not this Sunday, sorry, the Sunday after.
Got a busy schedule, so maybe we'll see where we can squeeze it in.
Yeah. Well, please. No, definitely. If you can, you can. If you can't, you can't, I guess. But so, well, in that case, then, I think that we've been talking enough Codswallop this week. Running Codswallop. So there we have it. Who knew that I would be getting into sports this week?
Mission completed.
Mission completed, yeah. So I am Gemma.
I'm Andy.
And you have been our wonderful guests, Stewart and Amy.
Yay!
Way!
Drug us wild.
Yeah, woo! Thank you for joining us.